This is Favors Financial Topics, various topics. Now that we have explored the definitions for learning goal orientation and performance goal orientation, let's look at some sample survey items that a psychology researcher or scholar or even a professor might use to gauge whether the survey participants exhibit a learning goal orientation or performance goal orientation based upon a research hypothesis and research question. So let's look at the first survey item. I want to learn as much as possible. The next one, I like best when something I learn makes me want to find out more. When I fail to complete a difficult task, I plan to try harder the next time I work on it. I prefer to work on tasks that force me to learn new things. So if we were looking at this from the personal finances strategy, a lot of times we are not really interested in learning, especially when we get a credit card. The most we care about is the credit limit. We care about the annual percentage rate, sometimes anyway. We care about any late fees. What are those late fees? And then if there is an annual fee that we have to pay on the card. But we don't really look too much more into the disclosure statements, the state-based type statements, all of the information that comes with that card when you receive it in the mail. So we're not really interested in learning as much as possible about credit card. Even before we select credit cards, we don't do a comparison. Sometimes the internet sources, third-party sources will provide a comparison tool and show you, different cards, but we don't know really how to read that information because we're so busy looking at the credit limit that we don't really look at just how much of an impact having that card would be on us, especially if the annual percentage rate is very high, and if we have to put any money down for a secured card. So we're not really interested in learning as much as possible. I know when it comes to having money taken out of my paycheck to go towards retirement, I'm really not too concerned about learning as much as possible because all I understand is that it's going to come out of my paycheck. A certain amount, each paycheck is going to come out of my paycheck. But I haven't really researched retirement plans. The information that comes with the plan, I never read it. And so when I think about that, it's something that I want to consider and think about going forward so that I am much more well informed. I like best when something I learn makes me want to find out more. Again, that's not always the case, but learning goal orientation suggests that you are the type of person you want to find out more. Now, there are certain areas in our lives where we really want to find out more about something, but it's not always personal finances. Usually people who are going to major in one or more of the financial professions are the ones who really want to learn more, especially if it's a person who's going to become an investment banker, a financial professional like an accountant, or become a personal finance specialist or something like that, because they have to learn. And even if the have to might suggest a fixed mindset because you may not want to learn it, you still learn it because you don't want to look stupid, right? When I fail to complete a difficult task, I plan to try harder the next time I work on it. So that speaks to task management. So if you're struggling with a particular goal to pay off 3 of your credit cards, sending a certain percentage of your income to those credit cards for the next 6 months, and you're doing so, you're choosing those 3 credit cards because the balances are low. And if something happens and you lose hours on your job and you can't really keep to that goal, that's not necessarily a failure. You might have failed to achieve that 3rd month to pay 3 of those cards, but that's not technically a failure. That would be just struggling, right? The failure would be if you decided not to continue that goal. That here it is, you're going good, but then you get stomped by the fact that you are losing hours, and it's messing with your goal of paying off those 3 credit cards, and it just seems like everything's just going haywire, and you just don't want to continue doing it anymore. And so if you stop in the middle of your goal and you stop before you can reach goal completion, then that will be considered a failure. And that means you are having trouble with task management. I prefer to work on tasks that force me to learn new things. So it's helpful when you decide that you want to enter the investment market. That even if you started with just mutual funds, CDs or something like that, that gives you a new task to work on and learn new things. The thing is, though, you can't get too lazy in your personal finances when it comes to your income as well, because we will have the eagerness to learn new things but forget to manage what we already know. And so learning goal orientation is that process where you are managing what you already know and allowing for new things. And then anytime you struggle with anything you already know, you address it, you self-reflect, you resolve it, and you continue on sustaining what you know while you continue to add the new things that you are interested in. So let's look at performance goal orientation. I want others to think I'm smart. I am motivated by the thought of outperforming my peers. I strive to demonstrate my ability relative to others. The opinions of others about how well I do certain things are important to me. And when I think about this, I want others to think I'm smart, and I'm motivated by the thought of outperforming my peers. I think about when people win the lottery. And there's this implicit idea that if you have won the lottery, you must be really smart. Because, it has its own process. You choose what type of lottery product you're going to purchase. Then you go back home and you think about the numbers, and you go back to the store and you turn it in, and then you look at the TV for the numbers, or you find out however way you're going to find out that information. And then you do that consistently, especially if you haven't won. And then one day you hit. And so then people think to themselves, oh, he was kind of like a hard worker. He stayed with that thing. He did a good job, and now he's a winner. The problem is, though, you hear a lot of people who have won the lottery and they end up losing their money within a year, or at least within 2 years, because missing that lottery win is the accompanying of knowledge, of understanding how to manage your money, how to adopt a task management plan for managing that type of money. That means that you need to go and talk to an attorney about setting up a trust. You need to set up a will, a durable power of attorney, healthcare directives, things like that, because what people do is they go get the money and they win the lottery, and they think that is a reflection of hard work, and that they don't necessarily need to manage because they have all that money. And then they begin outperforming their peers in the sense that they want to look like they are rich because technically they are. And so then that means you go get a new car, you go get a new house, you go get a new this, or you go new watch, jewelry, things like that, so that it looks like you're rich. And people oftentimes will push you into that because they want to know to what extent the kind of money you really have. And so they'll push you, man, you really do need to move out of this neighborhood and go get you one of those big houses with the gate. Because then if you can afford a $500,000 house, they know you have at least more than $500,000. So your motivations change, but you still haven't learned anything. Because how are you going to sustain $1 million? And then especially if you decide to quit your job, how will you sustain that? That means you need to keep that for the rest of your life. I strive to demonstrate my ability relative to others. The opinions of others about how well I do certain things are important to me. And so then you care more about the opinions of others than you care about yourself. I always suggest when it comes to winning the lottery, and I don't play the lottery, but if you win any type of thing, I wouldn't tell anybody and I would go to, pick up the winnings with a mask on, but I would immediately move out of the state. And I would just arrange with a moving company or something like that to move. I will pay somebody, but I wouldn't do that, because I wouldn't live in the same state or city or area, because I would need to get off to myself into a motel, think about things, pray about things, make sure I have a good understanding of things before I make the decision, any type of monetary decision. That's especially if I want to be able to keep it. So again, these sample survey items are typically specific to academic context, but I think they are useful enough for us to apply to the personal finance context, especially when you think about outperforming your peers. So you don't have a whole lot of money, but somehow you are wearing name brand clothes, name brand shoes, name brand jewelry items, but you don't have anything in the bank other than your paycheck that you just got, that's going to now go towards paying your shelter costs and your car note or something like that. But you have no savings, you have no retirement plan, you have no investment product of some sort, right? You have no 6-month emergency that you could depend upon if something happens to you. But you are very concerned with outperforming your peers. So you see a peer with some new Gucci shoes or Chanel bag or something like that, and you feel like you have to go get that to keep up with that person. But that doesn't work for your budget, and that's why you need to take some time to sit down with your budget, because remember, you are 100% responsible for you. And you don't want to have all those items, those very expensive items, and then you have to go and move in with someone because you lost your place. So that's why we have to always check our beliefs about what people think of us, the opinions of others, our motivations, trying to look smart. You got a lot of people who will not learn anything and would just learn just enough and look smart. That's not going to work long term, because eventually you're going to hit a brick wall. Someone's going to ask you a question about your personal finances, or someone's going to ask you a question about what you know and don't know, and you're going to have to be able to answer it. So think about these sample survey items for learning goal orientation and performance goal orientation, and think about it and apply it to your understanding of your own personal finances and how well you manage the tasks that you are confronted with when it comes to your personal finances. All right, hopefully you were able to gain some insight from this series topic. Like, subscribe, and like the video, hit the notification bell for future videos. You can visit my website, which is still in development, reginayfavors.com. You can always email me with a question, reginayfavors@yahoo.com. You will be able to purchase the book by the end of October 2021. I'm hoping that I will have it completely revised, rather. It is already written and done. I just have to edit it. It is Overcoming Setback: 5 Keys for Entering and Exiting Correction. Thank you for visiting the channel. Coming soon is my new book that I am working on presently and hope to complete by the end of the year, December 2021, preferably February 2022, and that is Favors: Financial Recovery, Psychological Approaches to Overcoming Financial Setback, with some workbook elements. So it is it will be the book that will support the audio series, although I have developed the audio series prior to actually writing the book. So be on the lookout for this new book. When it comes out, when I finish, I will create an audio introduction to the book. Thank you again for visiting the channel.